a date which will live in infamy.
Hello everybody, Panzer King back here in the Lion's Den, bringing you the final video of Operation Winter Solace. The conclusion, or at least on Panzer King's channel, of this series. And the final has been broken down into 3 parts. It's changed a little bit after we found out who the true victor was, but nonetheless, we are having our final segment right now as you watch it. So, let's review the game, shall we? We're not going to go into big depth, but we're going to go over some things and talk about just overall the game itself. And then at the end, we're going to show you a little surprise, so stick around. But anyways, so I was the Axis powers. Hilltop was the communist or the Comintern powers, and Fortress Jinx was the Allies. And going into the game, we knew simply that, at least I knew simply, that I was definitely a junior partner, as well as Hilltop. And what we decided to do early on was to create a semi-non-aggression pact as best we could in the best spirit of the game that we could try to do. Because obviously, we're playing against one of the best players this game has ever seen. And that is Fortress Jinx. And I respect the man entirely for his gameplay. And he does always come up with interesting things, I'll say that, on ways of challenging the game and the rules. And it definitely makes your mind think in a different direction sometimes, you know. Sometimes if you're a 2-dimensional person, you can definitely expand that into a 3-dimensional realm. So ultimately, I knew it was going to be a challenge, and that's where working with the communists right there would at least prolong the game so it's enjoyable, because I knew no matter what we did, if we attacked each other, and Hilltop had the same sentiment early on, the game would have been given to an Allied victory. Now, I will freely admit, the treaty lasted longer than I was expecting, but I wanted to test an experiment. In the Second World War, Germany took France, Poland, you know, many of the countries in the Baltic area, or the Balkans, but here, they never ever did crush England. And I always believed it would have been an interesting theory, even if you can't take the island or if you can neutralize London, then you could focus your full strength on the Soviet Union. And obviously Hitler did not do that in the Second World War. He broke his treaty with the Russians in 1941, and Stalin believed that he would have until at least 1943 to focus his strength on the West. And of course that didn't happen, caught him by surprise. But I wanted to see what Germany could do if we waited till 43. Turned out we waited a little bit too long until 44. But in many ways, things were going so good on the Eastern Front, and it was very neutral. I wanted to gobble up all the little territories I could, because I've never done that before. I was very lucky in Switzerland, had no casualties when I took that. The Russians and I, we did a joint venture in England, and it was beneficial for both of us, even though we lost our navies. And it worked out well, I still think. It did seal up a lot of forces here, but also my strategy was if I took London, it would also secure Paris, because they would probably have to take London back before they would take Paris. And those both being objective cities for victory points, I knew that was key. But I probably waited 1 or 2 turns too late to fully attack the Eastern Front, and I admit that. But to be fair, I honestly thought the law of averages, we would probably keep on going. But, Hilltop rolled a 3 and the game ended then and there, which honestly I'm fine with. I enjoyed the game so much. And ultimately, Fortress Jinx was trying to play the game in such a way that he could tie us to keep the game going, which was a very smart strategy. But of course, ultimately it backfired on him because he misread some of the victory points down here. And of course, they weren't worth anything. And of course, Russia ended up actually getting the win by 1 victory point over the Axis. So that was basically, as they say, the rest is history. And it was. But ultimately, I enjoyed the game so much. And I would have loved to see a few more turns in the Eastern Front and see what I could do. But I think Hilltop played an excellent game. And even though some people say he probably pushed too far east, but it was entertaining to see. Because that's the thing and the reason why I love this game, everybody. Global War 1936 gives you the chance to rewrite history in some fashion. But that's the beautiful thing about this, is that you don't have to take France if you don't want to. You could take Moscow if you want first before you take Paris. You could decide to help out forces in the south, help out the Italians and or whatever. Or like I say, the biggest thing that the saddest one was I was really hoping to win Spain. It was the first time in my game, or this history of me playing this game, that I had never won Spain as the Axis. I've always won it, and of course, just the dice rolls just were not with me. And of course, had we had that, that's 2 victory points immediately for the Germans and the Italians, and ultimately might have secured a victory for the game. But that was not meant to be. And of course, in the East with the communists taking charge of China was an interesting thing to watch. And a lot of these things for me, not necessarily were strategy based, they were curiosity based. I wanted to see what was going to happen. And I think for the viewers, I think a lot of viewers wanted to see it. And I know I got a lot of comments, and I talked to a lot of the great YouTube channel people out there, like Wintermute is a good example, and discussed why I did what I did and what was the reasoning behind it. And honestly, I'll probably never do it again because I've done it now, right? And I'm actually, not that I'm excited, but if I'm ever the Allies again, I would really love to have that struggling battle with the Axis and the Comintern, just kind of how it was in the beginning parts of the war, where they're kind of alone and they have to fight both of these aggressive factions, right? So I definitely don't envy Jinx's position he was in, but I would love to try it someday. But of course, probably want to get a few more games under my belt and really figure out naval movements a little bit better, because obviously you've got to be a very, very three-dimensional mind to move ships and troops all through the oceans here, right? So that's something to consider. But anyways, in a brief summary, that's really where I felt, or how I felt about this game, especially in the West. Now, of course, over here, this is the Eastern Theater. And you can see right here, the Americans dominated this. They just sent everything west to try to neutralize the aggression that the Japanese had. And superiority they had over in the Pacific. And of course, I think Japan was definitely probably the junior partner out of all 3 nations, ironically, because Italy went through the entire war unscathed and didn't have to join the war and did very well for itself in some respects. But I know that probably is going to be changed in version 4. So if you guys are looking forward to that, I know I am, because I think it just adds more dimensions to Italy and just makes Italy another more challenging nation to play. And Italy is kind of one of my favorite nations to play. But nonetheless, am I happy with the way Japan played? Well, I think I got a little unlucky with a lot of Japanese rules. And unfortunately, I just wasn't able to link my navies up, and the Americans caught me by surprise. Once again, done by the fabulous Jinx, who, like I say, is a very good naval tactician as well as land tactician. It's just, he was pinned down for so long that I think if he had a few more turns, he probably really could have turned the tide and maybe even threatened Japan proper itself. I know Hokkaido did fall, but an eye for an eye, I did end up taking a few territories up in Alaska, which he never did take back. So that made me feel good, at least to some degree. And of course, gobbling up in the Southeast Asia area, he took a lot of victory points back there because I just didn't have the strength to repel it. And by blockading me, Japan's income really fell down. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and gosh darn it, I love that game we played. But you may have noticed for the last few weeks I haven't done too many videos because I took a little bit of a break. It is a big mental fatigued game. And I think out of all of us, we all exercised that. You know, all of us had a bit of a mental challenge because it's different if you play this game over the weekend and you're done. But when you're playing this game every night for a few hours at a time for 3 or 4 months, it takes a big chunk of your life and a big commitment of your life. And that is why I want to honor the guys, the generals, the individuals that shared this adventure with me. And this being the first YouTube Wars of Global War 1936 version 3, officially, I think it deserves a bit of recognition to the players. And in Panzer King style, that's exactly what I decided to do. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you this right here. This is the awards that have been made up for Operation Winter Solace. And as you can see here, we've done one for every faction. That's why I love this game and will always love this game, because there's something about three-sided or three player games that just adds a different dynamic of diplomacy, genius combat and ingenious movements, as well as psyching out your opponent. It's just one of the things that just draws a real challenging part of the game out that you really, really want to play. And that's ultimately what happened with me. And this is what is the end result. So let's start with what third place is going to get. So you can see here, these plaques were made up and designed by me. And what we did here is, you can see up there, there's YouTube Wars. Well, we use the YouTube logo. But of course, YouTube has its own special font. And Wars right here is a little bit different font, but it works. Like I say, you hardly even notice it, but as soon as you point it out, you definitely notice it. I just think it looks really good, and it kind of gives you the media, I guess if that's the right way to describe it, of where we played it, how we played it, and what this award is all about, right? An online game. But of course, we have Operation Winter Solace, which was the campaign name. And below it, I put a Global War 1936 campaign, because that's how I'm always going to remember it. I'm going to remember this is campaign Winter Solace, right? Campaign Operation Winter Solace. And down the road, I mean, there might be a Global War 1985 YouTube Wars, or a Global War 1914 YouTube Wars, and it might have a different operational name. But that's what I really wanted to stress there, is that there's going to be more to come. But in this particular case, separate plaques were made up, and all of this is seamless right here. It's all one, it's just etched into this. But this is kind of the same type of plaque that we actually have for our ships here, and I'll just pull one out. Same type of material that we have here, and I have the Kentucky, an Essex-class ship, but an Iowa-class ship, but you can see right there, same type of material I've used for this. Now, obviously the nice thing about putting the plates on is you can put them on whoever wins. In this situation, it was the Allies, so we put the Allies plate, and third place, which was given to Fortress Jinx. And like I say, he earned this more than anything, even though you could technically say it's last place, but he earned this last place beyond belief. And I know he'll really appreciate this when he gets this. Now, I did also put the date of how long this particular campaign took. And you can see down here, January 1st to April 6th. We did start it earlier than that, but this is when the first episode aired. And it went to April 6, 2021. So that is what third place will get. Now, second place right here is the Axis. Same as before. We just had the Axis plate with the second place and with our date. And of course, the victor of this game is the Comintern, which end up with first place. Now, if you want to get to the Fiesta Resistance, or the very important thing about this right here is the campaign medal. And you can see right here, it's a beautiful medal. And I've put the foam backing on here so that it's never going to scrape up the plate. But also, you can also take this out and pin this on your chest if you want to wear it proudly, or you can just leave it on here. I drilled 2 holes just so it fits in there snugly, but not too snugly that you can't pull it out. But that's not all. These awards are really meant to be shown at home, in your office, wherever it might be. But there's more. And that is down here. And what I've done here is I have given small metal ribbons that you can wear on your chest, especially if you go to other campaigns, to show them off what you did for Operation Winter Solace. And this is an experiment, a trial run, but we've given 3 devices here. We've given a gold star to represent first place, the number 1 number device to represent the first Panzer King sanctioned Global Wars 1936 YouTubes. And there's other YouTube wars actually on right now, and you should go check them out. I believe Mark the Shark and Ozark Outpost, I think, and even the Fighting Irish are doing one, which I don't think is concluded yet. And then over here, we have an oak leaf. We have a bronze oak leaf. Now, the bronze oak leaf, for those of you that are curious about this, is basically to symbolize that not only did the Soviet Union control a major power, they actually controlled 2. The communists grew up to be a major power. And in this game, if you control 2 major powers, which I think deserves recognition, you're going to be awarded a bronze oak leaf. Now, if you go over here for the Axis, it's very similar, but instead of a gold star, we have a silver star to represent second place, the number 1 device, and a silver oak leaf. The reason why it's silver is it's the next step up, because you are now handling 3 major powers: Germany, Italy, Japan, all at once during one game. And that should be recognized, I should say. And of course, last but not least, bronze to the Allies, to Jinx, Fortress Jinx, the number 1, to know that that's the first YouTube wars. And another silver oak leaf because he did control 3 major powers: the United States, France, as long as it was, and the United Kingdom. Now, if the KMT were developed to a major power, and if he was controlling all the Allies, you would get a gold oak leaf, which would be very rare indeed, and the only situation that you would ever have where you could actually win or be awarded a gold oak leaf. So that is very cool, and those ribbons can go on your chest if you want, and you can keep that there. And last but not least, I'm always a stickler for medals. And because Operation Winter Solace is a unique situation, but it's not the true grandeur of the Spring Offensive, which we hope to still have this summer, we're going to award a medal that you can wear in lieu of this on your chest. A small medal, not like the major campaign medals that we're going to have for the Spring Offensive. And I like these miniature medals. They're relatively very small in comparison, but they're very, very nice. And of course, right here you can see I'm going to give them, each of the players, one of these that can slide on here, and you can actually pin it on your chest. Or you can actually even get, if you win multiple of these, medal bars that will be awarded to people that have 2 or 3 medals, so that you can pin them nicely on your uniform, shirt, whatever you have, in recognition of your hard work. Because 3 months, 3.5 months battling this out, it should be recognized. Just like in the military, your gallantry, your merit is recognized. Well, in this situation, I wanted to recognize my fellow combatants and honor them with something that hopefully they'll treasure and really enjoy down the road. And hopefully you like this as well. Now, that being said, moving on with further business, we're 20 minutes into this video and we're going to finish this up with a little voting exercise. Operation Winter Solace, I think, was a name kind of jointly coined by the three of us. I probably had the most say in it. But I fully intend to have a second YouTube series. It might be this year, might not be, might be next year. But I've come up with a name for the second Global War 1936 YouTube Wars. And that is Operation Skyhook. Operation Skyhook has a name for me, and I'm going to see if you can guess in the comments why I call it Skyhook. If you Google it, you'll probably come up with something very nerd-like, and that's a good comment, but it's not the comment I'm looking for. So if you do guess it, or the first one that I notice guesses it, why I call this Operation Skyhook, and I'm not going to give any reasons why, but if it's a good educated guess, there might, and I stress might be a little gift for you if you do guess right. So definitely guess away if you feel you have an educated guess. But aside from that, I need your help. What I have done here is I actually picked this medal for Operation Winter Solace. It's winter. I like the white, the dark blue, and the light blue colors. I thought it looked really good and really sharp. But I have 3 medals here that I'm about to show you that I've picked, and I want you to pick the next campaign medal for Operation Skyhook, the next YouTube Wars, which might happen in a few months or possibly next year. There's no set timeline, but let's see what those medals look like. And here they are, everybody. These are the new campaign medals. I picked these 3 because I like these 3. They're very cool and they're very unique. So we have a red ribbon, a blue and white, but for the most part we'll call it blue ribbon, and a green ribbon. And that's how I want you to vote. If you like this one, just say red in the comments. If you like this one, say blue, and if you like this one, say green. It doesn't matter which one, the most votes count. And we have till the end of the month. So we have maybe 1 or 2 days, 24 hours, 48 hours by the time this video is going to be up and posted. So definitely put your vote in if you care. If you don't want to vote, don't worry about it. That's all good. If you're indifferent, just don't say anything and it's all good. But if you really do like one of these, definitely tell me which one you want to see. My pick is, I think, the green one. I just like the hex metal pattern. It's gold, it's unique, but also I like the other ones too, because even though the ribbons here is blue, but it's a gold medal, you know, this would be really cool to see be side by side with the silver medal in blue. And of course the red would stand out really nice, sharply with the silver against the gold for Operation Winter Solace. So I'm curious what you guys think. Operation Skyhook, Sky, you might choose the Eagles. You might even choose this because they all actually have wings in the medals themselves. So let me know, guys, what your thoughts are, and we're gonna have some fun there. If you're interested in playing with us in Operation Skyhook, it might be General Hand Grenade, my neighbor, or basically my neighbor. We both live in the same town, and myself, possibly. Maybe, and then possibly some others. I think we're looking for maybe about 5, 6, 7 people. Definitely no more than that. But that would be interesting. We'll see how we can pick the teams or who wants. But some prerequisites are: you got to have a YouTube channel. You got to have the WhatsApp on your phone. because it's great for communication, texting back and forth, and you got to be able to commit a few months to this, and if you quit halfway through, you don't get anything. And I respect that. Sometimes people got to bow out, and I just can't play anymore, or I got obligations, and I understand that. That's where I really want to see dedicated people that want to play this, right? And I know there's a lot of people out there, and unfortunately, there's only so many that we can actually, play on one YouTube series. And unfortunately, the more there is, the more complicated it is. But it's definitely, I think, would be a lot more engaging and a lot funner to have multiple people, right? So that might be our plan, but we'll see. But right here, there is going to be my new email, panzerkingspringoffensive@gmail.com. Definitely add that to your email list. If you ever want to email me, feel free to. And we'll see about some communication. It's an email. It's actually the third email that I have. I have a personal one and a work one as well. So I may not check it all the time, and replies might be slow, but I'll definitely always try to get to it. It might even be a week later. It's hard to say, but if you feel so inclined, definitely email me and tell me your thoughts. Tell me if you're interested, and maybe when we get around to starting up Operation Skyhook, you guys might be getting a message from me. So, without further ado, guys, I'm going to sign off, and this will be the last transmission of Operation Winter Solace. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being with us, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed this series. I hope you enjoy what I've done for the guys, because they are brothers. Like a band of brothers. They are dear friends to me in some respects, and acquaintances, but and some of them I've never met before in my life. And it's amazing in this COVID world how friendships can go up and down through a game like this, and frustration, but it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll do that again soon. So, Panzer King in the Lion's Den, signing off, final transmission of Operation Winter Solace. You guys all stay classy. Take care.